Two, hello, check. Two, hello. Hello, folks. Hello, chat. Welcome. I'm on time. Just as I have been for the last few days. Thank you, St. Lotus, for confirming that. And chin chin to you, chat. Cracked open my traditional DC. Oh, how are we doing? I'm on time again. You know, eventually I will get back to doing this stream on like a regular basis. You know? Eventually it's gonna happen. I thought this month was the month. Clearly not. Right? We got school starting again. I had another bunch of other stuff I had to do. I got stuff. I got stuff happening. You've been saying it for 3 months. I know. I know that's true. I know you're right.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Benny, hello. Hello, Benny. Benny and the Benny Raiders. Welcome in. Hello, it's me, Rob. It's nice to see you. I hope the Benny stream was good today. Always happy to hear from Benny.gay. We go way back, right? Can I say that now, Benny? Has enough time elapsed since our relationship began that I can say we go way back and make this gesture? We go way back. It's true. It's true. Anyway, I appreciate the raid. Definitely. Good. I'm glad to hear it. I hope the stream was good today. I just logged on here. I was just mentioning that eventually I will get back to a point where I do this stream on a regular basis. You know, I used to do this stream every single day, and it feels like it's been a while since I've been able to actually do that. Last week was okay. I was a little lazy, did music for like an hour. You're allowed. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. I give you permission to be, if you need it. I don't know if you need it. You don't actually. You don't need it, Benny. But in case you did, you have my permission to just be lazy and do music sometimes. That's totally, there's nothing wrong with that. Once your son goes off to college, I'll be on a regular schedule. Yeah, give me another like 10 years of this. And then I will be able to do this stream on a regular basis when I'm 52 years old. Then I'm gonna really become a Twitch superstar. When I become at 52, when I become finally a regular full-time streamer. Watch out, everybody. Watch out. That's a peak streaming. During the water wars, you're going to need my guidance during this time. Look at the real crank takes. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. No, so I was out of town for a couple days. I was doing some stuff, and I was back yesterday, but I had car business. As you know, I've been on an ongoing journey to get a car. My kid started school. His school's farther away. I got to commute back and forth to his school a couple times a week. I realized very, very quickly that I was not going to be able to do that using the community car sharing service that I was using. It immediately was like, oh no, this is not gonna work. It's gonna be less convenient and more expensive than actually owning a car. So I've had to figure that out on a pretty short timeline. I had a lot of regret that I could have taken the entire summer. You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Another rich socialist shaking MH.
Thank you, Sean, for the 43 months. I wish that I was a rich socialist. That would be fantastic. That would be absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Did you get a Honda Fit? No, I did not. So I was pretty fit-pilled, and I was kind of really thinking that, but I ended up finding something. Again, it was a shorter timeline. I had the whole summer to figure this out, and I spent the whole summer deluding myself, being like, no, I'm going to be able to do this next year with by booking these cars that you can use sometimes. I'd spent the whole summer telling myself this. It's going to be fine. It's going to go okay. And literally on like day one, I was like, no. So I could have spent, multiple weeks or months like taking my time and finding the absolute best thing. But then all of a sudden I'm on this really short timeline. I got to get this figured out like right away. But I managed to do okay. Tell Jordan to float you money for a car loan since he's rich and can afford golf now. He's a big golf guy all of a sudden. I've never seen someone so rapidly golf pilled or anything pilled recently. It's just completely, it's become his whole personality in the span of like 2 to 3 weeks. The best decisions happen under extreme duress. Sometimes that is true, as I'm learning. And Sean Meat also did say spake as well, in case we've forgotten about that. Sean Meat said spake a few weeks ago. When you're young and naive, the Fit seems cool, but as a mature adult, the Impreza makes sense. Listen, I think the Fit is a nice, reliant automobile, as the Bare Naked Ladies once said in their hit song, If I Had $1 Million. But I ended up finding a Subaru Impreza. I found a Subaru Impreza. I went to see it yesterday. I gave it a little drive. I was able to go bring it to like an inspection at the mechanic. These guys that are quite cool and squeezed me in really quickly. Got the okay from them. Passed the inspection. And I somehow managed to become the proud owner of a Subaru Impreza. Everything fun to say about Dave Grohl? Not really. I think this is just like probably how people in Dave Grohl's position are often like he's both the drummer and a lead singer of a major rock band. I don't think anyone should be surprised. Consider me Impreza. Well, that's it. I now own a Subaru Impreza. It is very lesbian coded, and I'm totally okay with that. So I'm fully comfortable with that. You have the modern features like USB charging and Bluetooth. No, unfortunately, no, I do not. I have a CD player. That's one thing I think I am going to upgrade. Which I don't think is too expensive. I think you can get a Bluetooth like stereo and upgrade that fairly easily. So I think I am going to do that. I'm gonna burn this MF a CD. Exactly. Our Crosstrek had a CD player. I kind of dug it. I just don't even have CDs anymore. I don't think I have one CD. I don't think I have a single compact disc. What color is it? It's black. So I think I might upgrade the stereo to some kind of like a Bluetooth situation. It's a hatchback. It is a hatchback. It is a black Subaru Impreza hatchback. I don't think there's any like identifying information on here. I don't believe. Nope. That's you. That's not the window I wanted to open. There we go. That's me. Oh, one sec. Excuse me. Oh. Okay. It was very stupid, something that I just heard.
And have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob has the concept of a plan to stream every day at noon Eastern.
That's right, Jay. That's absolutely right. Thanks, Jay, for the 29 months of Tier 1. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I don't know, St. Lotus. I'm going to go pick him up today. I'm going to go pick him up from school today. We're going to see how it goes.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Rob.
Who's that? One sec. Crackety Kraken, thanks for the 43 months Tier 1. Thank you for that. Very much appreciated. What if he hates it? I don't think he's going to hate it. I would have been happy to buy a Chinese EV, as you know. As you know, folks, I would have been very happy to. It is all-wheel drive, yes, which is going to be good for winter. I know Montreal winter is going to be pretty brutal. Parking the car and everything, driving around in the icy, snowy roads, so I think that's going to be good. Trudeau banned them because of woke. That's absolutely right, yes. That's absolutely right, unfortunately. You should do Mad Max modifications on your Impressive. Maybe when the water wars start, if it's still running at that time. You know, depending on the water war timeline. Depending on the water war timeline, I will consider making some Mad Max style modifications. Depending on what year it is, hopefully it runs well past 150k miles. It should. I mean, it's got... I don't know, I want to get too into the specifics of it, but it should. It should. It's old. It's a used car, but it's not like old. Get an NOS tank? Yeah, there we go. Hell yeah. Will there be a ghost riding the whip sub-gold? No, I don't believe I will be ghost riding any whips. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I don't think that would be very practical. NOS tank, spinner rims, undercarriage lights, stereo system that is just purely bass. Wonderful. What about ghost riding the Tide Pod challenge? Wait, what even is that? How would one ghost ride a Tide Pod? What does that even mean? Ground effects. I should get some ground effects, I think. Some neon. I mean, I already have a lot of the lighting here in my apartment. I might as well take it to the next level. As we know, the police love that kind of stuff, so... Hydraulics. Just strip out some stuff to make it like really noisy. Just like aggressively noisy, annoyingly noisy. Blasting the Need for Speed underground soundtrack. They pull you over for going 35 in a 40. I get some flame decals. I could get one of those decals of like a unicorn, like one of those. What is it? Frank Fenzetta? Is that the guy's name? The artist? Yeah, like one of those Frank Fenzetta decals on the side with like black light. You know what I mean? One of those, like some kind of scantily clad barbarian woman on there. Frank Frazetta. Okay, excuse me. Get the whistle tips. What is a whistle tip? Is that like a thing that makes sound when you drive or something? That's what it sounds like to me. Wonderful. I think that sounds great. I think I should do all of these things. I'm putting all this stuff in a checklist. Bumper stickers are the kind of thing you either go deep on or not at all. I think that's good advice. I don't think I want to be one of those like intense like leftist bumper sticker guys, you know?
Pam, city residents have been told this noise is perfectly legal, so tomorrow they hope to start the process to change the law.
The whistles got woo!
Anybody that has it in their neighborhood is going to be totally driven crazy.
It sounds like what?
When you want to woo woo, it's that woo woo. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the flows.
My dad does paintings like that. That sounds cool.
Decoration, man. It's just for decoration. That's it. And that's all, man. We do it for decoration.
You have it on your car?
Yeah, I got it on my car.
Some Oakland residents will complain about the noisemakers Tuesday night at the city council meeting. Some neighbors are saying way too loud.
That's only in the morning. You supposed to be up cooking breakfast or somebody, and so that's like an alarm
That's
clock.
true.
Woo woo!
That makes the car audible for almost a mile.
That's gonna be me. That's gonna be me talking to local news about my whistle tips on my Subaru Impreza. Or your Kia hatchback. Yeah. We used to be a proper country. Did we, though? Is that true, though, when you think about it? Did we really? I don't know. I don't fucking know anymore. Some kind of fun novelty horn could be cool as well. What were we saying? I think we were saying last week, do a horn that does the full DPRK edition of the International. Do that. Full 2.5 minutes every time you use it. Whatever it is. Noise increasing equipment on a car is some pretty demonic shit. I agree. I like when people are having fun. I don't want to be the fun police, but we do already have a lot to deal with noise pollution in this kind of car culture that we live in. You press it once and it goes off for 2.5 minutes. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's what we want. Are fun police also bastards? I would say yes. Yeah. I would say yes, they are. Anyway, I guess there's a lot to catch up on, isn't there? Where do we even begin? What a stream that I was not able to do yesterday. It was 9/11 and there was the debate reacts. And I missed out on both. We couldn't do any like 9/11 trutherism. Or any debate stuff. I was out there driving around and going to car inspections and stuff. "9/11 debate reacts, responding to the latest demonic right-wing hysteria." We did end up talking a little bit about that last night on the Insurgents podcast, so people can also listen to that. We talked about the debate with Ken Klippenstein, and I've just had a moment where I can't remember. I can never remember now whether it's Klippenstein or Klippenstein. I don't remember. I just don't remember anymore. I did like Megan Trainor's Bejazzled Twin Towers. That was cool. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. That was cool. Have you seen Rebel Ridge yet? No, I haven't seen that. What is that? What is Rebel Ridge? He is still banned from the Insurgents office. You need to watch Rebel Ridge. Have you seen Blue Ruin or Green Room? I did see Green Room, yeah. Green Room was great. I loved Green Room. Rebel Ridge. An American crime thriller. An ex-Marine grapples his way through a web of small-town corruption when an attempt to post bail for his cousin escalates into a violent standoff with the, I'm assuming the next word is police. I'll check it out. I saw Alien Romulus last week. I think I might have just missed my window to see it in the theater, unfortunately. I'm going to have to just check it out when it comes to streaming or whatever. I did rewatch both Alien and Aliens really recently, though, and it's just incredible how absolutely perfect those both are. Rebel Ridge whips ass. Don Johnson is the villain, as a corrupt police chief in small-town USA that screws over the ex-Marine. That sounds like a good role for Don Johnson. I watched The Cat in the Hat last night, featuring world-famous Canadian man, the man out of Wayne's World, Mike Myers, of course. That Cat in the Hat is really strange, isn't it? I think the Jim Carrey live-action Grinch movie was weird also, but kind of worked. And it's like the live-action Cat movie is just like, how did this possibly get made? It's just bizarre. Aliens is like the perfect action movie in that it's a drama for like the first 55 minutes, then an action movie. I mean, that's James Cameron risking verse. He brings you up the road. He spends the first 50 minutes just bringing you right up to the top of the roller coaster. You know? That's the whole first 50 minutes of the movie. And then when you start going down, it's like, oh, fuck. And then and then he does it again. Does it again in the second half of the movie, and there's the moment where the power cuts, the emergency lights come on, they cut the power. How could they cut the power, man? They're animals, Hudson. And then from that point on, it's just pure thrills for like 40 straight minutes. It's crazy. It's just a crazy accomplishment. It just does not let up. You should watch Blue Ruin as well. Well, I will. I mean, I liked Green Room. It seems like you have a lot of confidence in this filmmaker, Jay, so I'll make a note to check these out. I will make a note to check these all out. So, As silly as this is, I want to admit something like very embarrassing to you, chat. Which is that I'm not going to be able to do like a full length stream again today because I was late getting started, and I'm going to have to go. I was late picking up my kid from school yesterday. I got stuck in traffic for like 45 minutes, and I was really not happy about that. So I want to make sure I'm on time for that. And when I got a phone call like 5 minutes ago, you want to know who that was? It was the SAAQ location where I got my car registered this morning, and I've left my fucking driver's license there. That's who just called me like 5 minutes ago. So now I've got to go back there. Apparently, I got to go back there to get my fucking driver's license that I forgot there because I was in such a haze. I was in a haze thinking about all the stuff that I had to do. So now I'm going to go back there to get my driver's license before I go pick up my son from school. I know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I got no excuse, chat. I got no excuse. I'm not exactly on my game right now. I want to get to I did watch Carnoba's comment. I did rewatch Alien Resurrection last weekend, and although it still looks great with a great cast, there are too many clunky line readings from Whedon's attempt at a quippy script. Yeah, I mean, Carnoba, it seems like there's the shell of something good there. I think for me, like, I just always thought Ripley was shoehorned into that movie, and that just turned me off right away. The fact that Sigourney Weaver was back in the movie. To me, like, whether you like or hate Alien 3, it's a definitive ending to the Ripley story, right? And I just thought bringing her back in this kind of convoluted sci-fi way was like off-putting and kind of silly. Really good cast. You know, Ron Perlman's in there. Brad Dourif is in there. Dan Hedaya is in there. So there's some really good character actors in there. Some interesting visual stuff going on, but it's just like, it just doesn't hold up. And the mix with the Whedon script as well. No, it's just not good. It's not good. I've literally only seen it the one time. I saw it the once in like 1998, and I've just not watched it since. Why do they try to clone Ripley for centuries when the original alien derelict vessel is still lying there in LV-426? Yeah, I guess it depends. Okay, Diego, that depends, and I appreciate your passion on this. It depends on whether the derelict craft was within the blast radius of the atmosphere processor explosion, which is like a thermonuclear explosion. I think it must have been more significantly farther away than that because the colonists would have found it, right? The colonists would have found that old ship kicking around. I don't know. Alien Resurrection, it's not good. There are some interesting things to like about it. There's some very interesting actors in there. Overall, it's not good. Newt's family drove for days. It was way out of the blast radius. Okay, that was never really totally clear. Anyway, I am looking forward to seeing Romulus. I'm looking forward to watching it. You know, it should be really cool. But I don't have super high expectations for it. I think we've talked a little bit about my diminishing returns and the diminishing expectations I have for entries in this franchise. Also, the derelict was covered by a mountain range, which is the excuse as to why Weyland-Yutani never discovered it until the corporate bastards sent a search team. That scene is so great when Ripley confronts him, and he's just this corporate worm. It's so great. You make a big security issue out of it, everybody steps in, administration steps in, and there's no exclusive rights for anybody. It was a bad call, Ripley. It was a bad call. He's reduced all these colonies to just numbers on a spreadsheet. Oh, it was just a bad call. Man, that's fantastic. I love Paul Reiser in that movie. He's so great. One of the all-time biggest pieces of shit in any movie ever. The moment when they're like in the med lab with the face huggers and they're like waving at the camera and you see the hand click the screen off and it pans back to show Burke. Man. Tremendous. That's just tremendous. He is very nice. I know. I was a mad about you watcher. I was a big mad about you watcher, you know? Very likable guy. He was good in Whiplash as well, as the dad in Whiplash. One of the best bad guys ever, totally agree. And he totally really tries to excuse all his actions. For sure, it's all justified in his mind. It's all justified. I think you have to be a likable person to play someone terrible. You need that distance. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's, especially at the beginning when it's kind of ambiguous about whether he is an asshole or not. For the first, like, hour of the movie, you think he might be, like, okay. I work for the company, but don't let that fool you. I'm really an okay guy. '80s movies were so good, I can't explain why. I think we can explain why. Like, we've talked about it before, right? The practical effects. It's shot on film. There's no green screen. All the kind of stuff that today would be green screen in Aliens is all rear screen projection. Yeah, squibs and 35mm and practical effects and rear screen projection. A lot of union people involved, yeah. It just looks more real. Like when you have it, when you're making a film and you have your actors on a set with props and behind them you're like projecting something. You're projecting like a big spaceship crash or you're projecting like a big laser battle behind them. And then you're taking a camera and you're photographing the actors in the camera and everything's being captured in the camera. That's filmmaking, right? That's photography. That you're making a movie. You're not just doing everything later. We'll get every actor individually and we'll just paste them all together. You know? Yeah, but the cinematographers would light the scenes as well. You could like see actors. That's a novel concept. Even at night. You can what a concept. You could have a scene set at night and you can fucking see the actors. Crazy. What a concept. I was talking about the intensity and madness present in a lot of 80s movies that I still haven't really seen since. Yeah, I think that's part of it as well, Diego. There's kind of a leftover of that kind of like 70s era of Hollywood filmmaking where it's like very auteur driven, interesting people writing these scripts and making these films. Studios were more willing to take big risks and big chances. Not everything was just like reduced to this like IP slop, you know? I think there's an element of that as well. Film Twitter, where's the light coming from? Who fucking cares? I want to see the actors. I would like to see the actors. This is a transitional film, but I'm watching Michael Bay's Armageddon, and it is insane. Armageddon is insane, but I'm a pretty big Michael Bay proponent, though. I like a lot of those Michael Bay 90s movies. The Bad Boys, The Rock, and Armageddon, I think are very entertaining. You know, they're not cinematic masterpieces. I wouldn't put them up there with like anything like special, but there's a lot going on. Losers say they tried their best. That's right. That's how he talks. That's how he talks. Well, sorry, one sec. One moment.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hello, Risk Inverse. Thanks for the 2 gifted subs. I appreciate that. Risk Inverse. Thank you for that very much, and thanks for all the support. I've got like the insurance calling me as well. I got a whole bunch of stuff going on. We got big things happening right now. The bad guys were always corrupt businessmen back then, like Reiser or Rob Lowe in Wayne's World. It's funny that those are the 2 examples that you thought of. Now the baddies are like eccentric climate scientists. Well, that's another thing I was talking about as well, like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time. Ghostbusters was probably the first movie that fully like activated my brain and like made me super excited and like I was just fully obsessed with it. And it's crazy how reactionary Ghostbusters is. It's like the ultimate Reaganite propaganda. Ghostbusters, where literally the main antagonist in the movie is from the EPA. The EPA comes through with these disgraced academics. They leave academia to go start a small business where they're just walking around completely unlicensed with these like fucking nuclear powered lasers to catch ghosts, right? No permits, no, like they've not like cleared this with anyone. They haven't like done anything to like make sure that that's safe or that that's okay. And then the EPA is coming and being like, you can't do this. Like, are you serious? No, we're not going to just allow you to just waltz around with these unlicensed nuclear energy weapons. You know, we got to check, we got to see what's going on with that. And they're just like smoking cigs and just like insulting him.
Talk you through all this.
Bill Murray's rolling his eyes, you know? Hassan, nice to see you. Thanks for the 2 gifted subs. I appreciate it. Thank you. The most libertarian movie. Well, it's not. It's. I mean, you could describe it as neo-libertarian, but it's neoliberalism. It's like the dawn of neoliberalism. It's the ultimate vision of that. You know, moving away from academia and education into the private sector, less regulation. The EPA, get the EPA off my back. Cut the red tape. We're trying to start a small business here. We're leaving the world of academia and starting a small business. I'm sorry, but the stream crossing will end. The vault always looks dangerous. He was right to pull the lever. Call me crazy, but shooting ghosts with nuclear weapons is fucking madness. Should have been locked the fuck up. I mean, listen, Dave, like, and as we know, we see the perspective of the Ghostbusters, and we see that they have good intentions, and that their nuclear energy beams are indeed trapping ghosts. I mean, we see that, but like, from the perspective of the government and the EPA, it's like you can't be allowing that. You know? Janine, clearly non-union, obviously. Obviously not. All you commies want to take away people's personal nukes. Come and take it. Come and take the proton accelerator from my back. Anyway, I love the movie. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. But deeply, deeply reactionary and extreme Reaganite propaganda. Murray, when he was in academia as a professor, is dating his test subjects. Yeah. Then they go conjure, like that's the whole plot of Ghostbusters 2, the beginning. They go conjure this giant marshmallow man that wreaks havoc on the city. And they're like, you can't do this anymore. You can't do this shit. You couldn't even summon Zool today. There's too many union regs. How did Egon even get access to radioactive material? Sounds like a terrorist to me. It's a good question. That's never fully explained. Literally summoning horrors beyond comprehension and getting mad at regulations. Get this goddamn EPA off my back. We're trying to defeat these ghosts with our unlicensed nuclear particle accelerators. Praying for Marshmallow Mans. That's what they call the Marshmallow Man in Toronto. Did Egon do what Doc Brown did and make a trade with the Libyans? It would be funny if, like, in the supplemental material, you got Egon on the horn with the DPRK. He's just got some DPRK contact, getting some nuclear material. It's my right to wear a bomb on my back and take out an entire city block if things go wrong. Very reactionary of Doc not to follow through. Exactly, you should have just followed through. He made a deal with them fair and square. If he had given a nuclear weapon to these Libyans, perhaps Gaddafi would be alive today. And maybe Libya would be in better shape today. Instead, he reneged on his side of the deal, which caused this big time loop and almost destroyed the entire timeline. I'm glad we're getting to the bottom of this, of some of these conversations. This is really important stuff. The lesson is support national sovereignty in the global south. We're often saying this on here. We do often say this, don't we? Give the Libyans nukes. Exactly. Well, I mean, didn't Gaddafi have nukes and give them up? Classic mistake. He made one of the classic blunders. He trusted the United States of America. He trusted the imperialists. He gave up his nukes. He gave up his leverage. Also, did those Libyan terrorists die when they crashed? I don't remember that concluding itself after Marty goes back in time. That's true. That was never really addressed, was it? I think they just kind of slunk away afterwards. Doc Brown was so glib when he had the stolen nuclear material. Surely there's no repercussions for this. Yeah. What? I just did this side deal with the Libyans to get some nuclear material. What do you want? We're going over all the 80s classics now. We're going over all the canon. We're poking holes. What is the Honest Trailers or whatever? This is fun. We're poking holes in all the 80s classics. Cinema sins, yeah. What's this? Hold on just one sec, okay? There's a spam call. There's a computer voice saying it was Daniel from Amazon customer service. I saw Beetlejuice last night. It was pretty meh. It seems like it's getting some okay reviews. I'm planning to go this weekend. Maybe there's an issue with the order. Better get him your social insurance number and your credit card number and go withdraw a bunch of cash to hand off to one of his associates. How did the gremlins work? I don't know. You don't get him wet. Don't feed him after midnight. Well, that was the Mogwai. But it's true that the dad in Gremlins really did escape any culpability for multiple deaths. Multiple people died. Right? He gets this random creature from a shop, brings it to his hometown, despite all the warnings that he gets. Like, the guy at the shop is like, no way. No, you can't have this. Absolutely not. Multiple warnings on what to do. Just gives it to his son without impressing on him the importance of like how serious it is to properly care for this creature. It leads to a gremlin outbreak in the hometown. Multiple people die. The science teacher dies. Multiple people are killed. They're dead. And he just skates away from that. He just walks away from it. Like, that's manslaughter. That science teacher was very nice as well. And it's probably kind of troubling and problematic that he's one of the people that is visibly killed on screen. You learn not to do that again. Boy, did I have egg on my face after that one. He kind of told them the rules and stressed how important it is, but not nearly as seriously as they probably should have. I don't think anyone was taking that seriously enough. All he had was just a vague understanding of, here, don't do this. Don't do these things. No one was ever explaining like the actual result that was going to happen. No gremlin proofing the house at all. Seriously. We're talking gremlins, Brandon. We're talking gremlins. That old lady on the chairlift died. It's serious, you know? It's not just that there's a gremlin outbreak. It's like multiple people were killed. Like, there's got to be some kind of someone's got to be held responsible for that. Have you ever seen the Key and Peele skit about the sequel? Yeah, with like the script doctor that comes in. The sequel is so strange and weird, but kind of very fun at the same time. Joe Dante, one of the best to ever do it. Joe Dante. I was mentioning The Burbs the other day. I think it's a really good movie. Really worth a rewatch. Sequel had Hulk Hogan in it, like addressing the camera, like breaking the fourth wall. The sequel is so strange. All the individual, it's gonna be each individual gremlin. And then the one guy at the end totally has sex with the lady gremlin. Like, let's call it what it is. Let's call it like it is. There's that corporate guy in the end, and he totally has sex with the lady gremlin, which is pretty messed up. not Grembussy, please. Please, no. The bat gremlin, that was cool. Yeah, I like the scientist gremlins. Those were fun. Like the super smart one. Dakadoon, I'm sorry, but this is canon. This is Gremlins canon. The gremlin has a little dress and like lipstick on it. It's giving this guy smooches, and eventually he's kind of like, eh. And it's like, oh man. The electricity gremlin for sure. It's fun. Are there half-human gremlins out there now? I mean, there is, according to Nick Let's Go. My son absolutely loves this song. This is like one of his favorite songs.
Paralyzed nation, sick and depressed. Gotta keep myself together. Gotta take a deep breath.
Friend of the stream.
All because there may never be a Gremlins 3. So tell me, where did the Gremlins go? It's been so long, nothing to show. We could have had Gremlins versus Home Alone, or at least a cameo and Attack of the Clones. There should have been a Gremlin in Jurassic Park, or a Jaws-like movie with a Gremlin shark. 30 years later, we're all stuck at home, crying in our sleep, wondering where did the Gremlins go? It's a travesty that they've robbed us of history.
Yes, it is, Joe. 110.
We could have had Gremlins 4, Gremlins 5. Instead, we got 14 Land Before Times. I close my eyes and Gremlins are old and icy.
I'm surprised as well, Dakadoon, but I don't think we should encourage anyone.
Gremlins 6 and Gremlins 7. Instead, we got COVID and 9/11. So tell me, where did the Gremlins go? It's been so long, nothing to show. Imagine there's a film
Here's
where
the new
Gizmo
movie.
becomes a gremlin who teaches the other gremlins about democracy and philosophy. They develop a country, they name it Gremlin Nation. They ban all immigration, they have genocidal tendencies. Gizmo isn't into it. Also, he has a kid with a human woman played by Jennifer Aniston. We can call it Gremlins 3. There should have been a Gremlin in Jurassic Park, or a Jaws-like movie with a Gremlin shark. 30 years later, we're all stuck at home, crying in our sleep, wondering where did the Gremlins go? Joe Dante, where did the Gremlins go? Howie Mandel, where did the Gremlins go? Steven Spielberg.
Like, this is too much.
Oh, je sais, vous me prenez pour un fou. Absolument pas, sinon on ne pourrait pas vous faire un procès.
It's the Spanish version.
Tenez, vous voyez. C'est un immense échec pour la direction.
The Spanish kind of makes it funnier. Come on, man. Hey, Stu. We're doing some important business on here. I wanted to see there's like the ending part. Okay. So
Here in the building.
In the building? Hello? Forrester, what are you doing? Okay, we'll get you out of there.
this is like the ending of the movie.
Wow, way up there? No, it'll take a while. The elevators are out and all the automatic doors are locked. Well, I don't know. Not too long. We'll do what we can, Forrester. Just keep your pants on.
Well, maybe I have been working too hard, Mr. Clamp. That's very generous, sir. A half day off once the building is operational. Thank you, sir.
No. Come on. So he's considering it. No. Oh my gosh. Come on. This is what I'm saying, Stu. This is what I'm saying. That's the end of the movie. You laugh, but this is how Stephen Benelli was conceived. This is my concern, dude. So that's Joe Dante's Gremlins 2. And there's a lot to like about Gremlins 2. That to me is that's taken a little far. That's taken it a little far, I think. It's bittersweet seeing something like this when America is free. They literally do not make them like this anymore. It's very true. Like they could make some kind of soulless corporate IP grab gremlin reboot, but guarantee there would be nothing like that in there. You know? And maybe that's good, actually. Maybe we don't want that. Maybe that's art going a little bit too far. Maybe that's art pushing us into some uncomfortable territory. I mean, like a decade ago, we got a Seth Rogen movie of just a bunch of food fucking each other, so I guess the sky is still the limit. It is impressive how he's managed to like make some really weird stuff with the kind of pull that he's been able to get together. Another movie that I thought like that, I don't know if Seth Rogen was in this, but it's like part of that like crew, was Your Highness. Like, I don't think Your Highness was good. I don't think it was a good movie. But it, just as like an experiment in seeing what you can get a major Hollywood studio to pay for, I thought that was like kind of impressive, you know? I didn't like the movie, but it was just like you somehow convinced a major corporation to fund this. Like, that is just impressive in and of itself, I think. Aren't they remaking The Burbs? Long overdue. I mean, possibly, but it's like, why would you... That movie is just perfect, you know? It's perfect. I'd understand, like, taking that kind of concept or that kind of story and maybe doing something different with it, but it's just like, well, yeah, you don't need to remake The Burbs. You have The Burbs. It already exists. Just watch The Burbs, Sean. That's what I'm saying. Friends, I have to say that I appreciate that while I was in a video therapy session on the other screen, I was seeing footage of Gremlins movies. That's why I love this community. Thank you, Raven. I'm glad you appreciate that. I'm glad you appreciate it. Gremlin therapy. How was your appointment, Raven? Was it all right? I hope it was okay. The Burbs is so good. Like I was saying this just the other week. It's such a great, like, late 80s, early 90s Tom Hanks double feature about capitalist alienation. Joe versus the Volcano and The Burbs. Watch those back to back. Venting about men and the society they've made for us. So yeah, it was nice. Well, that sounds like it was productive. The scene of him being scared to eat the chips and dip is burned into my memory. He can be such a great, like, comedy actor, you know, Tom Hanks. He's just terrific in that movie. And Carrie Fisher plays his wife. And that legendary character actor, I can't remember his name. My dog just passed. Can I get an R.I.P. Yoshi? Sure, you can absolutely get an R.I.P. Yoshi. I'm very sorry to hear that. NV Joshi. I'm sure you gave Yoshi a very nice home, and I'm sure Yoshi had a very nice life. And I hope that you're doing okay. Is it Rick DeCuman? Rick DeCuman died very early, very young. I must have had cancer. Such a great character actor. He was in so much good stuff in the 80s. Man, The Burbs is so good. I gotta watch that. I gotta rewatch it. It's really good.
I'm only trying to take a nap. I'm only laying here with my eyes closed trying to get some goddamn sleep.
Quiet. I wouldn't wake if it wasn't important. I think we flushed him out.
Okay.
The Klopex. Rumsfeld and I, we flushed him out.
Wow.
We wrote a note. We slipped it under their door. We rang the bell, and then we ran.
You did that?
Yeah.
Oh, shit! Stupid idiot! I can't believe you...
All I did was write, I know what you've done. That's all. I didn't sign it.
Oh, I can't believe you stupid! Why didn't you... God!
You gotta goose these people every once in a while. You gotta give them a little shot. Give them a little whack. Let them know that you're there. Jeez, good dog, Vince. Good dog. Go get it.
Here's the
Go
thing,
get it.
though. All right, see, they're gonna think that I did it. Yeah, they are.
Why?
Because the old guy, he saw me write a note and put it underneath Walter's door, so now they're gonna think that I did it!
You wrote a note and put it under the... I didn't know that. Well, it doesn't matter.
Thanks.
We got them on the run now. Now they know that we know that they know that we know. Yes, it does matter. You did it, but they're going to suspect me. They're not going to suspect anybody. They're... Do you know what this is? It's a bone. It's a femur. It's a femur bone. A femur just happens to be a human thigh bone, right? Wait, how do you know that? Biology 101. I mean, look at the size of this thing. You think this came off a chicken or something? Where the hell did Vince get this? He dug it up from underneath the fence. Ray, there's no doubt anymore. This is real. Your neighbors are murdering people. They're chopping them up. They're burying them in their backyard. Ray, this is Walter.
Dante. Dante the God. Tremendous. I always wait way too long to put the movie corner title on the screen, you know? I wait way too long. I could have put the movie corner on the screen. We've been talking about movies for the last 30 minutes. And now what? I'm going to put it up for the last 5 minutes? Corey Feldman and Bruce Dern are so good. For sure. It's what a great cast. The cast is just incredible. Another funny thing about The Burbs. Okay, so you remember when someone raids this stream, right? Someone raids this stream. And what do you hear? You hear, oh, it's this guy Rob Rousseau, some leftist based in Canada, that whole thing? Remember that? So that's the guy that says that is Owen Schroyer of InfoWars, okay? That's the guy that says that quote. Here he is. Someone put me onto this sick individual. There's Owen Schroyer. And Owen Schroyer, as I've determined, is a dead ringer for the character Hans Klopek from The Burbs. Anyway, The Burbs. Joe Dante's The Burbs. It's a classic film. It's a classic film. He connects the dots. That's right. We'll try to get into some serious business now, folks. We can move on from Movie Corner now, I think. That was a good edition of Movie Corner. Before we do, remember, it's September. I'm still grinding away. I'm grinding away, and it's my first stream this week, despite telling people that I'm going to be back doing this show full time. It is my first stream this week. Gramercy was not serious business. I mean, maybe to some people. To some people, the Gramercy might have been serious, but I think we got to maybe get more serious now. But remember,
you can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob.
Thank you, Progressive
talk
Canuck.
Through all this.
No, Rob. It's Slubtember.
It's Slubtember. That's right. Progressive Canuck. Thanks for the 37 months. I appreciate it. So remember, it's Slubtember. if you want to support this program and you enjoy this content and you appreciate the work that I do here on Twitch, please subscribe if you can. I appreciate it a lot. It helps keep this show on the air. I'm still on this ongoing quest to get back to where I was before the summer. Eventually I will get there, maybe at some point. Eventually I might get there. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Maybe never. But the only way that I can is if people continue to support this program. I really appreciate everyone that pitches in to keep this show on the air. It's been almost 4 years of doing this show. We're coming up on 4 years. We are coming up on 4 years of doing this program, which is like insane to me. But so it's incredible to me that I've been able to continue doing this show for 4 years. The only way I've been able to do that continually is through the very generous support of the community. So if you can, folks, please subscribe. Help me make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up. Batch subs on sale right now, as are new subs, as are sub upgrades from 1 month to 3 or 6 months. I believe there's some kind of bit discount as well. Maybe don't quote me on that. But yes, if you can, please do subscribe, if possible. Or gift subs or whatever it is. Help me make the little number go up. Help me keep this show on the air. Did I make the Asian heart sign? That was not intentional. I can't believe I left my freaking driver's license at the freaking insurance place. God damn. I was too excited. I was just too excited. That was really not very smart, though. I really need that. You know when you get really excited at the insurance place? I was registering my new car. I got a car. I was registering it. I was just about to go get it, and I was going to be able to drive it around. Congress just passed $1.5 billion for anti-China propaganda if you're looking to grift. If only someone passed some billions of dollars for pro-China propaganda, maybe I could get some kind of a grant or something. I'm getting excited about thinking about accidents I might get into and how I won't have to pay as much for them. Technically, you have time to bring your license to the police station after you get stopped, right? I mean, I wouldn't like go just on your chat. Like maybe that might depend on where you live. I don't know what the rule is in Quebec. Obviously, I should probably check that out. I think I would probably be more comfortable just going to get that soon, though. Thank you for the congratulations, Pizzicata. It came together quickly. Like I said, it came together quickly and under duress. All the premiums I've paid could have just paid for a car in a future accident. You don't want to put off this errand forever? No, I don't. I mean,
wow.
I do.
Okay, Rob. Seriously, wow.
Oh, my goodness. Joe 110. Joe 110, thank you for living up to your name. Thank you for 10 gifted subs. Holy shit. That is very, very kind of you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. Joe 110, very, very generous. A hero really did come along. 10, it's in the name, exactly. And they're on sale right now. Oh, we got Orb Lady as well. Look at this silly little guy. I'm not little, okay, for the last time. For the last time, I'm not little. I'm a big boy. Some call him Generous Joe. In fact, I am going to start saying that exact thing. It's Joe Tember now. That's right. Everyone's saying Big Rob nowadays. God damn. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess so what should we do here? Like, did I miss the opportunity to talk about 9/11? Like, should we talk about 9/11? Have we talked about 9/11 enough? It's funny because like I see it now, like every year, it's just the same thing. People are doing the like 9/11 Chile posting. You're doing Bush did 9/11 jokes. You know, we did the thing. We actually forgot. We forgot about 9/11. We're not supposed to do that. Someone actually like alerted me to someone like DM'd me about this. Jesus Christ. Can I find it like this? Someone DM'd me yesterday being like, years ago, this Canadian guy with a mustache did the funniest 9/11 post. Why do I have to do any of this? Why do I have to log in to Instagram? Look at it. You know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna do it. I don't care. Fuck it. Never mind. Chat, your favorite 9/11 quote, go. You know, while we're still on Movie Corner, I actually did like Paul Greengrass's United 93 film.
I spoke to the vice, then we're going to watch the debate, and then tomorrow I'm doing 9/11. I spoke to the vice president. She seems calm, cool, and collected. I think she's going to do great.
He's doing 9/11. Saudi's threat to Canada, of course. I mean, there's so many angles. I think that's the one thing I was talking a little bit to Jordan last night about, just the way that, like, it's funny how we actually, like, we know kind of beyond any kind of shadow of a doubt that the Saudis were deeply involved in 9/11. And we've just kind of, like, come to accept that. And there's never been any real, like, repercussions or discussion about that. It's just kind of like, yeah. The Saudis did kind of do 9/11 to us, and then they threatened to do 9/11 to Canada as well. Sticking one's nose where it doesn't belong. Because Canada was like, can you treat your human rights activists like maybe a little bit better, please? And they were like, we will do 9/11 to you if you don't shut the fuck up. And we were like, okay, yes, we will. The case against the Saudis gets stronger every year. I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, that's the main thing. Unelectable airwaves. We talk about like 9/11 truthers. The biggest group of 9/11 truthers are like the victims' families, people who died in 9/11. Their families are the ones that have fully rejected the government narrative with good reason, because there's a lot of reasons that they should reject the official government narrative about it. And they, through their lawsuits, independent lawsuits, have confirmed that these hijackers in the months prior to September 11th were hanging out with Saudi nationals, people that were connected to Saudi intelligence. There's like a direct confirmed link between Saudi intelligence that were helping to, in some capacity, find homes for these hijackers and, you know, help them out. And IMO, there's no way the Saudis did that without the US. And was Mossad involved as well? That's another question. That gets into some thorny territory. We talk about Israel's role there and Mossad's role. You end up talking about another kind of like cart leading the horse situation. Saudi ambassador having cigars with Bush 2 days later after they pulled it off. It's so disturbing.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
It's really, really disturbing. Listen to a long interview with the one widow yesterday. It's incredible. That sounds interesting. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I mean, here's one thing that's true, though. Like, Netanyahu and, like, Israel has been promoting this idea for decades now of, like, radical Islamic terrorism, right? One video I saw yesterday that I had never seen before, actually. Did anyone see this clip yesterday going around of this like Israeli woman on the day reacting to 9/11? And it's creepy.
Well, big catastrophe, and I'm Israeli, and I hope that now people understand what we have to deal with, the kind of people that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It's just a catastrophe.
Like, you know? And that's the thing. Netanyahu and Israel has been promoting this idea for decades about radical Islamic terrorism. And this was the event that kickstarted. There was a few little like lead up events, the bombing of the USS Cole, and like when Al Qaeda was really like getting started, right, and starting to engage in these kinds of activities. And then this was the event that kicked off then a 2-decade bonanza, the global war on terror. All these civil liberties stripped away, billions and billions of dollars going to the weapons manufacturers, the military-industrial complex, all these massive new government bureaucracies in the security state being created. People were blaming the PLO and shit on TV at first. I don't doubt it. That's why I think there's a real connection here between, like, while we're talking about Israel-Palestine for the last 11 months and the way that has been, like, used to kind of create a certain narrative about radical Islamic terrorism, which took full hold of American society after this event. And then you have this really creepy interview with this woman, like, smiling about it. And again, we can get into some tricky territory there, some thorny territory talking about that. Oh, the Israelis did 9/11. I don't believe that because, like, as we know, the Saudis there was Saudi nationals. They were the hijackers. Saudi intelligence. There's confirmed links between Saudi intelligence and these hijackers. But it seems like there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, to say the least. A lot of folks that were involved. And then you have this nebulous intelligence apparatus in the United States, all these different factions that all believe in different things. None of them are talking to each other. Some of them are trying to figure out what's going on. Some of them are trying to track down these hijackers. Who knows who the fuck else is involved? You know, it's just a catastrophe. And this is the exact circumstance that creates this situation that then, you know, becomes used to justify a 20-year quagmire. And it's just a massive bonanza. Oh boy, the Cold War was over. You had that brief period of the 90s, the end of history. The Cold War's over. And then, oh boy, did they ever fire up that money printing machine again after that, didn't they? We needed someone to fight. We lost. We didn't have anybody again. The USSR was gone. China was in our back pocket, or so we thought. We needed to fire up that money printing machine again. And oh boy, was there ever a good excuse for it? But that's always the question when it comes to these kinds of conversations, right? Like, was this like planned? Was George Bush on the phone going, do 9/11, right? Was George Bush saying that? It's time to do 9/11, go, you know? I don't necessarily believe he was. You know, he's a fucking moron. He probably knew nothing at all or very little. Was it an accident? Like, did these guys just slip through their fingers? Do you have this massive bureaucracy that just couldn't communicate with one another and couldn't catch these guys? Maybe, but it's like you're still capitalizing on that, aren't you? He was not a moron. Well, he's not a moron the way that he was kind of portrayed, but I do think it is like I don't think he was like a brilliant person either. He's an Ivy League rich kid dipshit, fail son. My conspiracy is that the Twin Towers never fell and are still there. I think that's like when I get into what we talk about, like is it a controlled demolition? It's just like, I don't think that really matters. I don't really think it was. I think it's entirely plausible that these airplanes, melted the steel beams, or compromised their integrity enough that the buildings fell down. I don't think that's that hard to believe at all. But the question is, what are these hijackers doing there? How did they get into the country? Who trained them? Who funded them? Who financed them? And who benefited? That's always the question, isn't it? Key bono. Who benefits? And then that's in this exact same way that speech is so important in that movie. You get lost in this kind of like parlor game of having these conversations about towers and holograms and Building 7 and all this stuff. But really that obscures the actual power dynamic that's at play there. I don't think they were on the phone saying it's a go, but I'm sure that scenario was known and they knew how to react and take advantage of it. And that's what was proposed in Operation Northwoods in the early 60s. Like, it's not like this is a new thing. They proposed this very thing, which included faking hijacking of airplanes. And they proposed that to Kennedy in the early 60s. And ships involving shit like Navy ships. And then as soon as Kennedy is assassinated, you have a U.S. naval ship that really kickstarts the Vietnam War into an even higher gear. CIA knew what was happening for months and sat on it, so they knew that they just didn't care. Yeah, and again, there's factions. There's factions of people that I don't doubt did care, and we're trying to figure it out. But you have all these different nebulous factions of this massive, sprawling security bureaucracy. None of them are talking to each other. A lot of them didn't even like each other. Can you describe Operation Northwoods more? I'm only tangentially aware of this. It was in reference to Cuba. It was like, we're going to, this is a plan to, engage in false flag terrorist attacks in order to, build support for a military campaign against Cuba, which involves naval ships. It involves faking plane hijackings and planning bombings and this kind of stuff. Can you talk about the lone gun episode where it shows the 9/11 attack? I'm not so sure that I'm familiar with what that means. A really weird fact as well that I didn't know about? I did not know this. This is so bizarre. And chalk this up to coincidence. Probably. Who knows? The Matrix takes place at the end of history. The peak of your civilization, says Agent Smith. Check Neo's birthday. Thomas Anderson's birthday. Or his date of registration or expiry. His passport expiry. Mr. Anderson. The hijackers are a bit sus, but overall I just think it's not hard to believe the US is not impenetrable and sometimes attacks happen. Well, yeah, and I agree with that, actually. I do agree with that. But sometimes attacks happen, especially when they're being, funded by your ostensible allies. And there is a definitive, provable link that has been established between Saudi intelligence and the 9/11 hijackers. That's not a conspiracy. It's not a tinfoil hat thing. That has been proven. That's been proven through these lawsuits that the 9/11 victims' families have been taking part in for the last 2 decades to try and get to the truth of what actually happened, because they know that the official story is bullshit. What country was funding and arming radical Islamists in Afghanistan prior to this? Who can even remember? What country helped create the whole idea of radical Islamic terrorism in the first place? You know, this was a deliberate thing. This is a very deliberate effort on the part of the United States and its allies in the region to promote this exact kind of ideology, to disrupt this like burgeoning, like pan-Africanist, pan-Arabic kind of solidarity that existed. That was like anti-colonial in nature. Promoting this kind of extremism was like a deliberate effort, and 9/11 was blowback from that. Brzezinski's baby bragged about how he broke up the Soviet Union by using radical Islam. I also don't think the truth matters particularly anymore. There's no expose about this that's going to change the world, as evidenced by the U.S. allowing the Saudis to buy their way into every single sports business. And I agree, St. Lotus. I don't think anyone's ever going to go, hold the phone. We think the Saudis were involved in this, or we think Mossad was involved in this, or we think some factions within the United States military-industrial complex or intelligence community are involved in this. But it is fun to talk about and speculate about, though. I think it's fun to talk about it and speculate about it. I think throwing the Saudis under the bus is a contingency, possibly, yeah. And here's more on the Israeli connection. I had never heard of any of this before either. If I could force the CIA to release is not Brian on Twitter. If I could force the CIA to release all its documents on any single case, it would be the Israeli spy ring they uncovered in the months leading up to 9/11. 3 of them were Mohammed Atta's neighbors, so 3 Israeli spies and 4 9/11 hijackers on the same street. Everyone knows about the dancing Israelis, but do you know about the Israeli art students? A vast spy network discovered in 2001, living amongst the 9/11 hijackers, infiltrating sensitive government buildings and agents' homes, covered up by the US government and press as soon as the story broke. As a pattern slowly emerged, the DEA appeared to have been targeted in what it called an organized intelligence gathering activity. But to what end and for whom, no one knew. Reports of the mysterious Israelis with an inexplicable interest in peddling art to G-men came in from more than 40 US cities and continued throughout the first 6 months of 2001. Agents of the DEA, ATF, Air Force, Secret Service, FBI, and US Marshals Service documented some 130 separate incidents of art student encounters. Some of the Israelis were observed diagramming the inside of federal buildings. Some were found carrying photographs they had taken of federal agents. One was discovered with a computer printout in his luggage that referred to DEA groups. Yes, you read that right. A spy ring that may have been trailing Al-Qaeda members in the weeks and months before September 11th. A spy ring that, according to Cameron's sources, may have known about the preparations for the September 11th attacks, but failed to share this knowledge with U.S. intelligence. One investigator told Cameron that evidence linking these Israelis to 9/11 is classified. I cannot tell you about evidence that has been gathered. It's classified information. In at least one case, the students lived just a stone's throw from homes and apartments where the September 11th terrorists resided. In Hollywood, several students lived at 4220 Sheridan Street, just down the block from the 3389 Sheridan Street apartment where terrorist mastermind Mohammed Atta holed up with 3 other September 11th plotters. Many of the students, the DEA report noted, had backgrounds in Israeli military intelligence and/or electronic surveillance. One was the son of a 2-star Israeli general, and another had served as a bodyguard to the head of the Israeli army. Still, the U.S. press was uninterested. Just one day after the Le Monde report, the Washington Post ran a story on March 6th that seemed to put the whole thing to rest, headlined "Reports of Israeli Spy Ring Dismissed." The piece, by John Mintz and Dan Egan, opened with official denials from a wide array of U.S. officials and quoted Justice Department spokeswoman Susan Dryden as saying, "This seems to be an urban myth that has been circulating for months. The department has no information at this time to substantiate these widespread reports about Israeli art students involved in espionage." Here's the piece in Salon from way back in May 7th, 2002. The Israeli art student mystery. There's also the whole thing about stocks being shorted. We went over that last year as well. And that's fun to look into the news articles about that. All the evidence of the airline stocks being shorted, which instantly just get like hand waved away by this investigation that happens. And they're like, we've determined that it was a big coincidence. Here's the snow. We did this last year, but I think it's worth looking at, you know? We missed my 9/11 yesterday. We might as well get into some 9/11 stuff today. It's 9/12. No better time for it. Here's the Snopes fact check. Were stocks of airlines suspiciously shorted just before 9/11? Highly publicized allegations of insider trading in advance of 9/11 generally rest on reports of unusual trading activity in companies whose stocks plummeted after the attacks. Here's the claim. In the days just prior to the September 11th attacks, large quantities of stock in United and American Airlines were traded by persons with foreknowledge of the upcoming 9/11 attacks. Snopes says false. Snopes says false. Well, what's the reasoning for that? On 11 September 2001, 4 planes were hijacked and used in the attack on America. American Airlines Flight 11 leaving Boston bound for LA, American Airlines Flight 77 leaving Washington bound for LA, United Airlines Flight 175 leaving Boston bound for LA, and United Airlines Flight 93 leaving Newark bound for San Francisco. Each of these planes were deliberately crashed, killing all on board, 2 into the World Trade Center towers, 1 into the Pentagon, and 1 into a field in Pennsylvania. On only the delay in takeoff of Flight 93 and the actions of the alerted passengers on board prevented it from becoming yet another instrument of destruction, resulting in an even greater loss of life. And I know there's a whole conspiracy about United 93 as well. Did they shoot it down? Which, is certainly, I wouldn't put it past the United States government, of course. I do think it's totally reasonable to believe that the passengers there's documented phone calls between the passengers on the plane talking with their family members. They knew what was going on. They knew these other hijacked planes had been flown into buildings, and they knew that if they didn't try and do something that they were going to get flown in, that they were going to be killed anyways. I don't think it's a big stretch of the imagination to assume that, they were aware that something was going to happen, and they took action that resulted in the plane crashing. I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption. The operation had taken years to plan, and the perpetrators knew well in advance which airlines would be affected. In the month prior to the 11 September 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, unusual trading activity involving American and United Airlines stock was noted by market analysts who at the time had no idea what to make of it. Wildly unusual discrepancies in the put and call ratio, 25 to 100 times normal, were reportedly observed in stock options of the 2 airlines. In one case, Bloomberg's Tradebook electronic trading system identified option volume in UAL, parent of United Airlines, on 16 August 2001 that was 36 times higher than usual. Options are wagered that the price of a 100-share block of a particular stock will rise or fall by a certain date. Puts are shorts or bets the stock price will fall. Calls are bets the price will rise. Thus, one who has reason to believe a particular company is about to suffer a terrible reversal of fortune would purchase puts against that entity's stock. But it was during our economy is insane. This is our entire economy. It makes no sense. It's so psychotic. But it was during the final few trading days, the market closes on weekends, that the most unusual variances in activity occurred. Bloomberg data showed that on 6 September 2001, the Thursday before that Black Tuesday, put option volume in UAL stock was nearly 100 times higher than normal, 2,000 options versus 27 on the previous day. On 6 and 7 September 2001, the Chicago Board Options Exchange handled 4,744 put options for United Airlines stock, translating into 474,000 shares, compared with just 396 call options or 39,600 shares. On a day that the put-to-call ratio would normally have been expected to be roughly 1-to-1, no negative stories about United had broken. It was instead 12-to-1. On 10th September 2001, another uneventful news day, American Airlines option volume was 4,516 puts and 748 calls, a ratio of 6-1 on yet another day when by rights these options should have been trading even. No other airline stocks were affected. Only United and American were shorted in this fashion. Accelerated investments speculating a downturn in the value of Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch, two New York investment firms severely damaged by the World Trade Center attack, were also observed. The National Commission on Terrorist Attacks upon the United States, also known as the 9/11 Commission, investigated these rumors and found that although some unusual and initially seemingly suspicious trading activity did occur in the days prior to September 11th, it was all coincidentally innocuous and not the result of insider trading by parties with foreknowledge of the 9/11 attacks. So the 9/11 Commission said, no, actually that's fine. There's nothing to that actually. So let's just put that to bed. Snopes says, nope, it was false rumor. The 9/11 Commission said so. So let's just not think about that at all. Let's just not talk about it. Let's not think about it. This is the quote. What if they were insider trading without foreign knowledge? Well, yeah, that's a good question. Highly publicized allegations of insider trading in advance of 9/11 generally rest on reports of unusual pre-9/11 trading activity in companies whose stocks plummeted after the attacks. Some unusual trading did in fact occur, but each such trade proved to have an innocuous explanation. For example, the volume of put options, instruments that pay off only when a stock drops in price, surged in the parent companies of United Airlines on September 6th and American Airlines on September 10th. Highly suspicious trading on its face. Yet further investigation has revealed that the trading had no connection to 9/11. A single US-based institutional investor with no conceivable ties to Al-Qaeda purchased 95% of the UAL puts on September 6th as part of a trading strategy that also included buying 115,000 shares of American on September 10th. So he had no conceivable ties to Al-Qaeda, so no possible way. There's no possible way that he could have had any kind of connection to it. Only Al-Qaeda knew about it. That's the thing. They only knew about it. They were the only ones that knew about it. So seemingly much of the seemingly suspicious trading in American on September 10th was traced to a specific US-based options trading newsletter faxed its subscribers on Sunday, September 9th, which recommended these trades. The SEC, FBI, and aided by other agencies and the securities industry, devoted enormous resources to investigating this issue, including securing the cooperation of many foreign governments. These investigations found that the apparently suspicious consistently proved innocuous. So, nothing to that. And you know what? Maybe there is nothing to it.
You're gonna have good old.
Maybe
Rob
there is nothing to
talk
it.
you through
I think it
this.
is suspicious, though.
What's a rumor? That Rob Rousseau is the best streamer on Twitch? I can't believe people would go on the internet and tell lies.
Baldwin, I really appreciate that. You're very kind. And thanks for the 18 months. I really, really appreciate that, Baldwin. And thanks for all the support. You can convince yourself of the official story if you zoom in on specific details, but pulling back and assuming all of the fucked up coincidences are just random is untenable. I think it's a good way of looking at it, Matt, right? Like one coincidence, okay, you know? When you get into the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 separate coincidences all coming together, then it starts to seem a little suspicious. Which one was the more forthright, 9/11 Commission or the Warren Commission? I mean, the Warren Commission was like one of the main people on the Warren Commission, which was should have been the main suspects in the case that was being investigated. So I think that probably takes the cake for fraudulent investigations into serious crimes that happened in the United States. Once a coincidence, twice a pattern. And when it's more than twice, then it's like, you have to start asking these kinds of questions. And think about the ways that asking these kinds of questions was totally delegitimized for an entire generation. Or not in a generation, but like for that whole 10-year period of the War on Terror. It was like, no. If you start asking these questions, you get put in the category of Alex Jones and all these conspiracy theorists, lunatics. You know, don't ever ask questions. Don't ever question this narrative, or you can have career repercussions. You can have social repercussions. Do a statistical analysis on this, and then I'll be convinced about this silly leftist. Anyways, the USSR killed 1,000 guerrillion. Exactly. Sometimes we need that official data, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we can just go based on vibes. The entire eastern wing of NORAD being unavailable because they were doing a war game about hijackers flying planes into the WTC is already too much of a coincidence itself. The war on terror is still happening. It just went covert. For sure. I mean, like, the war on terror, it never really stopped. And look at Gaza right now. I mean, what's happening in Gaza, just because Israel's prosecuting it using U.S. weapons, but it's still the war on terror. All the exact same strategies are in place. The black sites, the torture prisons, the relentless bombing campaigns. Kentucky Fried Movie, or maybe it was Tunnel Vision, had the best take on the JFK Warren Commission that I've ever seen. I've never seen that. Here's some of the stuff about Netanyahu and Israel and the radical Islamic terrorism and this kind of stuff. Like I said, I think this is some tricky territory because you can start getting into some fucked up ideas about, you know, who did 9/11, you know, exactly. But we should probably just take a brief look at this, though. The 1979 Jerusalem Conference on International Terrorism, coordinated by Netanyahu, the idea that the U.S. and its Western allies should come fight a war on terror against Israel's enemies because the real target of Islamic terrorism is the West, was rolled out, and Bush Sr. agreed.
The war on terror was a construct that was rolled out on the global stage in July 1979 in Israel, in the Netanyahu Institute. They had a conference called the Jerusalem Conference on International Terrorism. And this was a conference that was a 3-day event. It was sponsored by the government of Israel, which was then headed by Menachem Begin. And Mr. Netanyahu and his father were the main coordinators. George Herbert Walker Bush spoke there, who was then a candidate for vice president or president in 1979. At the conference, the Jerusalem Conference on International Terrorism, they rolled out this doctrine, this idea that the United States and the Western allies should become engaged militarily in the Middle East to fight the terrorist groups who were plaguing Israel and the nations that harbored or hosted these organizations. They promoted this idea that the Western allies should come and fight they called it Islamic terrorism, because in the construct that Netanyahu puts forward on the fighting the war on terror, he says that basically Israel is plagued by Islamic terrorists because it is a Western state with Western values. Therefore, he says, Israel is attacked because they're the furthest out in the region. But the real target, he says, of Islamic terrorism is the West. Therefore, he says it's incumbent on the West and the United States to lead a war on terrorism against these groups because it's in the West's interest. So he conflates Israel and the terrorism problem in Israel with Western values, which is a little bit off the mark there, because he ignores the Palestinian grievances that they have, fighting occupation. They presented this in July of 1979 at the conference.
Nothing to do with colonialism. They just hate the
flawed.
West. They hate our freedoms. Remember, they go back to the George Bush thing? They hate our freedoms. There's a brand new book called something like Israel, the Winners of the 2002 Iraq Oil War. That should be interesting, too. Interesting how they kind of kept out of it as well. They kept out of the war while also benefiting heavily from this entire process of the war on terror and the Iraq war.
The data was inaccurate, but never mind. It was rolled out as a concept, as a doctrine. And George Herbert Walker Bush spoke at the final session in agreement with the idea that the United States should engage in a war on terrorism. The war.
George H.W. Bush, no, let's not look to his connection to the intelligence community or, the Kennedy assassination.
I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center. I wrote a book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see
what was that?
Is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
Weird too, and it glitches for a moment. It glitches for a moment. Who do you see? It glitches for a brief moment. Yeah, and of course the WTC was bombed as well in 93. Has the Bush family been involved in every single one of these since before World War II? Yes. Here's former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak on September 11th, before the towers even fell down.
The world will not be the same from today on. It's an attack against our whole civilization. I don't know who is responsible. I believe we will know in 12 hours. If it is a kind of bin Laden organization, and even if it's something else, I believe that this is the time to deploy a globally concerted effort led by the United States, the UK, Europe, and Russia against all sources of terror. Yeah, I believe that it's, first of all, missile defense is also something which is...
This is not before the attack. This is while this is on the day.
Something like this, rogue states,
while it was happening.
It should be done, and it should be deployed maybe not on national level, but only on trans-regional level to cover exactly the threat from rogue states like Iran, Iraq, or Libya. It's a time to identify. There are no more than 5 or 6 countries in the world which are directly or indirectly responsible for hosting terror. There are no more than 10 or 15 terror thugs in the world. All the organizations are well known. It's a time to launch a operational, concrete war against terror, even if it takes certain pains from the routine activities of our normal society. Every such a place is within certain country. The bin Laden sits in Afghanistan. There is a source of
who else
terror.
do you identify, though? Because we're not saying he's responsible for this necessarily.
No, we don't say that he's responsible.
Oh yeah, no, never.
And we should cooperate with
preemptively,
both preemptive and by diplomatic means, namely rogue states. There are 5 of them: Iran, Iraq, Libya, North Korea. These kind of states should be treated as rogue states.
And I just want to clarify too, like we're talking about this kind of stuff, and I think this, like I've been saying, I think this leads us possibly, if we're not careful, down some really dark paths where you end up coming to these fucked up conclusions like the Jews did 9/11, which is not something that I believe or anyone in this community believes. Let's be totally clear about that, right? No one actually believes that. But I do think we should be talking about the role that Israel has played in promoting this whole idea of like radical Islamic terrorism, of trying to kind of push America and push the West into like taking on radical Islam in this way. Anytime I think we start blaming Israel for everything, and we totally ignore the ways that like the military-industrial complex, the weapons manufacturers, the security state, and all these people that deeply benefited from all this stuff as well, that's when I think it gets into really problematic territory. But given what we know about Netanyahu and Israel and their promotion of this kind of very idea, I think it's worth exploring these kinds of like links. And we know the Saudis were deeply involved in funding these hijackers. That's the question. What was the level of Israeli involvement as well? Was it on a rhetorical level? Were they just pushing their U.S. benefactors into jumping headfirst into this global war on terror? Was Mossad maybe involved? I think these are questions that we should ask without coming to some fucked up conclusion about, who controls the United States government, who's the puppet master behind all these events. I don't believe that, and I don't think anyone else believes that as well. But let's talk about these links, though. I think we can talk about these links in a non-problematic way. No, the spread of Wahhabism is not an organic thing. This is, I don't know what you mean, the Sibel Edmonds leak. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Matt, but no, it's not organic at all. It was very deliberate, like I was saying before. That's the question. Who benefits, right? We keep asking that question. Who benefits? The Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv had reported that Israel's former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has publicly said that September 11th attacks have been good for Israel. Netanyahu said, "We are benefiting." It's not even like a speculation. It says, "We are benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq." Netanyahu then reportedly said that these events swung American public opinion in our favor. So not even really being shy about it. The reason I'm in Canada today are these events and rhetoric is so shocking to me, just riding on history. Yeah, well, it is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to examine these things, isn't it? We're glad you're here, though, Joe 110. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? Pretty interesting. We're just asking questions, folks. There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, Mark. That's why it's always really important to talk about that. They absolutely benefited, and we should never ignore the fact that like these military weapons contractors and the vast security bureaucracies all benefited heavily from this. I'd rather be home. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. Perhaps one day. Perhaps one day you'll be able to return. The entire U.S. ruling class benefited from the climate of hysteria that followed. Absolutely, the media certainly did. The Gladio B stuff, where there was an explicit policy of radicalizing teenagers via Saudi-funded madrasas so they could use them against China and Central West Asian countries that wouldn't submit. That's interesting, too. Okay, I've never seen this either. I have never seen this. But Cheney's good now. Cheney just endorsed Kamala Harris, so everyone's coming together. We're all feeling joy. We're all feeling good. I've never seen this. Never forget the time an occult-adjacent Air Force Boeing contractor who had worked on remote-controlled airplanes uploaded his perfectly captured video of the second plane hitting the tower on 9/11 after he simply forgot to upload it for 20 years. He just forgot to upload it. This Air Force trained guy who had worked on these kinds of things forgot to upload for 20 years this perfectly captured video where he perfectly captured the second plane hitting the building. He just forgot. He forgot to make that public. He forgot to make that footage public for all those years. Sometimes I forget my keys. Exactly. The tape's always in the last place you look. Yes. Yes. This is how it goes. Is this too? Is it? We can talk about this, right? Is this crazy? Is it crazy to talk about this? I don't think it is. I think we should talk about it. Why would we believe the official narrative? You never believe the official narrative. Of course, these are liars. They're liars, folks. They're liars and murderers. The people that come up with these official narratives. Why do we listen to them? This whole idea that became like verboten or to ask these kinds of questions is insane. That's a crazy one. And it remains the most formative, like, political event of our lives. Like, it really was this kind of like this event that really cleaved these 2 centuries in half. And it's surreal as someone that grew up in the 90s to think about, the way the world changed after that event. Well, folks, listen. We could talk about this more. I know I'm having fun talking about this. I enjoy it. I do have to get going pretty soon, though. It's a shorter stream, okay? I'll try. I think I will be able to come back for a full-length stream tomorrow. That is my goal. That's my intention. I am going to try and do that. So, and then next week should be, fingers crossed, should be a full week of TRRS at the regularly scheduled time. Okay? So I am going to get going soon. One last time, if you do want to support this program, please subscribe if you can. So SUBTEMBER, batch subs on sale, upscaling subs from 1 month to 3 month or 6 month on sale, new subs on sale. If you just came in from the algorithm, or you're a lurker, or you're a non-subbed community member and you just got here because of this wild, wacky conspiracy shit we're getting into today. Brand new subs on sale currently. Please support this program if you can. I really do appreciate it a whole lot.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Mark, thank you for the gifted sub. It's nice to see you again, and I appreciate the gifted sub. Thank you for that. Ugh. So again, I should be back tomorrow for a full-length stream. Fingers crossed.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And thank you to Comrade Bushy as well for the gifted sub and for all the support. Okay, what are we doing now? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Thanks for tuning in. This was fun, right? This was a fun one.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
This is a fun one. We had some good movie corner chat, and we got to have a little fun tinfoil conspiracy business as well. I'm totally interested, Matt. Anon, thanks for the 3 gifted subs. I appreciate that, Anon. Thank you for that. Very, very kind of you. Thank you. So thanks again. Thanks again, Chad. I'll be back tomorrow, all right? The Burbs and 9/11. The Burbs, Gremlins. What else was there? I don't even remember. The Burbs did 9/11. I think that's the main conclusion we can come to today. Wasn't Tom Hanks in a 9/11 movie to bring it full circle? Was he? I'm not sure. I think you might be thinking of Captain Phillips. The Klopeks are deeply implicated. We need to look into the Klopeks. One of the Klopeks passports was found in the wreckage. You really avoided a 9/11 with the stream today. That's why you do it on 9/12 to keep people guessing. He was in Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. Is that a 9/11 movie? I don't think I was aware of that. You learn something new every day. Take care, folks.